Ready?
We're live.
Good. Start filming me. That's my seat.
Give me a second. I gotta send my audience over.
Okay. These lights don't matter?
No, your camera picks up low light pretty well. That's the whole reason why it's expensive.
Huh?
You don't really need that large light. That's what I was trying to tell you.
That makes it better though.
Yes, but it's one more thing to knock over.
For you to knock over.
Well, I'm filming. I'm doing my best here. Let's try that again.
Why are you sitting in my seat? Get that camera set up, baby.
It's already on. Yes, it's the same DJ from Battle Cam. What's up, Fire Arrow? Please don't hack any submarines today, or whatever the
I
fuck.
don't want to hear all that dumb shit.
You're talking to me.
Oh.
I'm not talking to myself. All right, it's on you.
No. Hi. DJ's going to get the camera set up.
It's already set up.
I'll be with you in 2 minutes because DJ's sitting in my seat. And his shoes are where my shoes are supposed to be.
All right. Your name's DDD, correct?
Right, this is Dr. DD Heffernan.
There we go.
I'm not dressed like a priest today, although you guys thought I was dressed like a vampire or something. And I'm cooking here for DJ. Unfortunately, he bought, at Costco, he bought choice steaks, and prime are a little bit better, but he may not be able to taste the difference, and maybe I don't either. We'll see. Now, each night I like to have a slightly different set, so I've been working on and off today on the set of King Cat, and we'll show you that later. And of course, you haven't seen my bedroom. My bedroom has a big painting by, is anybody there?
Yes. Keep talking.
My bedroom has a big painting of by Mr. Dripping, and he's a Spanish artist. And I think I'll charge him this one. Now today, I submitted the formal application for an organizational demonstration protest march to start the homeless militia of Los Angeles. So it will happen. I hope you can come. It'll happen in Marina del Rey on April 20th. And we'll just see. It might be one person. It might be 1,000 people. I don't know. Do you like this tie? This is from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You can get really nice clothes there for almost, comparatively speaking, nothing. And it, like these suits, they are custom made, but I go to like a cheap outlet called Men's Warehouse. They have really nice cloth, but they cheat you on the thread and the buttons. So I just take it to a Mexican tailor I know, 6 years of education in tailoring, and he sews it, he tailors it with great thread and great buttons. And then I have a custom-made suit for pretty much a little bit over the price of an off-the-rack suit. So I'm very conscious of price. You all think I'm a rich doctor, and that's just not correct. Pretty much doing my life, I've made money, but I've spent money. So right now I have no assets. I have no house or property of any kind. My car, which DJ may show you a picture of later, is fully financed and has also been wrecked. So we're driving, DJ's driving a rental for me because my license was suspended a couple of years ago, not for drunk driving like you think, no, because the change of address form by the USPS didn't catch up to me, so the service didn't occur. Anyway, as you know, DJ and I met in a mental hospital, Las Encinas, Aurora, also called Aurora Las Encinas Hospital in Pasadena, and we'll talk to you about that later. Yes, DJ.
You want to know what kind of tobacco you smoke? They want to show which specific case that is, and also what's on your wrist. That's the 3 questions I'm getting.
On my wrist is a worry beads. Is also a rosary, and I just use it as Greek worry beads.
Keep cool. LA is okay. It just takes time.
I like it.
That's the $20 someone sent last night.
It's a Rolex Presidente. Oh, Paulina demonstrated. Oh, thank you, Paulina. I think I sent you a video last night.
Yeah.
So that's what's on my 2 wrists. This is the most expensive property I own. This Rolex, but I wanted the best watch made, and that's what I understand it is.
All right.
And this is
yeah, they want to see the pipe.
This is Captain Black. It's pretty much like both of them. I can't tell the difference. Although I'm going to start vaping a pipe because it doesn't have the tar, and the tar is what makes you. It's very bad for the body. Tar is carcinogenic. Nicotine is a long, old drug. It's okay. But I just wanted to say also, I was thinking today that the young men who do nothing but play video games and smoke marijuana, and you text me these statements that I can't understand. They're not English. I don't want to be harsh or anything, but you might be a loser. That might be the reason you can't get a date, because girls, they can't date losers. They just can't do it. And I'm going to teach you guys, if you're interested, how not to be a loser.
They said, "Fuck off. We smoke weed in game. Who are you?"
You smoke weed in game. Smoke weed in game. DJ, I didn't make it clear. I do not want to hear anything from gamers who smoke weed.
You can't control who's watching you and who types. It's not impossible.
I can control what you read.
All right.
Don't read any of that stuff. Read meaningful questions or statements.
Well, you're supposed to talk to everyone.
I'm not going to talk to everyone. I'm not going to talk to people whose minds are wasted by a chemical that destroys your ability to think and react and be a human being. Okay. You got some questions for me? Reasonable questions?
Do you like it up the ass? That's the only question I saw. I'm sorry. Who the fuck are you? They're asking who the fuck are you, new people.
I'm a human being. What can I say?
They say, do you know who Roger Stone is? They remind you of him.
Roger Stone, didn't he do
Nixon's advisor, the one who engineered it all. And also Trump's top guy who's gone to jail now for his involvement.
I don't know Roger Stone. I do know Nixon. Nixon had a Secretary of State named Henry Kissinger.
Mm-hmm.
He had a different number 10 beautiful babe with him every week. And one of the boy reporters didn't understand it, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Kissinger, you're old and fat and ugly and short. How come you have such beautiful women?" And Kissinger replied, "Because for women, power is their aphrodisiac."
Does Adderall help ADHD?
See how he interrupts? He doesn't.
I'm not interrupting. I'm reading questions.
He didn't listen.
I heard what you said. I'm supposed to read questions, or you're supposed to read it yourself. This is how this works.
This is DJ with the verbal diarrhea. He doesn't listen. He thinks he can multitask.
I know about Nixon.
Nobody can multitask. Okay, what did Kissinger say? Give me a quote. He can't.
I know what he sounds like. I don't have I wasn't alive for Kissinger.
Because he wasn't listening. I said the quote, and he wasn't listening.
Well, I was reading. I'm doing my job here.
Verbal diarrhea. I'm trying to train him.
Well, if you don't want to interact with the chat, then we can record the video.
Not to have verbal diarrhea, but it's very difficult. I'm trying. So he's not supposed to talk and you notice he's talking, I, me, I, me. That's what he does all the time.
Well,
He's brilliant. Make no mistakes, he's brilliant, and he's a world expert in whatever we're doing now with live streaming. Verbal diarrhea, yeah, that's right. I love something, I don't know. I love D. Oh, where's one of my cards?
no, you can't show that.
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
I'm going to try to stop you from doing
just say-
something like that.
He's afraid that you guys will bomb this place with pizzas or chicken or
Well, worse than
bomb,
that.
so we can't tell you where we are. But if you do that, I know you're just a loser pothead, man. That's what
Okay.
you do. Anyway.
If a drug is anything that alters the mind, how are you okay with tobacco and alcohol and psychiatric drugs? Why pick certain drugs and say they're bad and others are okay?
Well, I mean, oxygen affects the brain. Affects the brain. There are a million things that affect the brain. The question is, does it affect it deleteriously? Does it injure it? Does it prevent it from thinking and feeling and doing? That's the question. You framed it wrong. You framed it as anything that affects the brain is bad, then you might as well shoot yourself in the head because everything you do affects your brain. Does that make sense?
Yes. How long were you in the mental hospital? What did you think of it? What was it like being on the other side of it as a doctor your whole life?
It was very, very interesting. All psychiatrists should have this experience. Now, if DJ cannot speak for 5 minutes, I want to, no, 2 minutes. No, 45 seconds. All right. When you go to a real doctor, like an internist or a gynecologist or a urologist or a surgeon, they say, well, I think maybe you have this or this or this, maybe appendicitis, maybe diabetes. Then they run some objective tests, like a blood test or an X-ray or CAT scan or MRI, to see what you have. So all doctors have had the experience of being proven wrong, except absent one group of physicians called psychiatrists. If they diagnose you with bipolar disorder, that's it. They think their diagnosis is right, but they can't prove it's right. They can't order a test of any kind. All they have is what's called anchoring. They like their opinion and they stick to it, and they say you have bipolar disorder, whether you have it or not. Now that doesn't mean the mental disorders are not real. They are real. I mean, the brain is the most complicated organ in the body. Ergo, it gets sick. But a lot of the stuff is just normal variations of human being, of what you are. And autism is a great example of that. Autism is a simple diagnosis. You have unusual communication style, impaired communication, like Elon Musk. I mean, if you hear him talk, his face contorts and he says weird things. But then the second diagnostic criteria, besides the unusual communication, is repetitive behavior. And he's a great example, faster, underground, in space, in the Tesla car, faster. So, and there are literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of very successful people who have adult, high-functioning autism. It's not a disease, it's a gift from God. Yes, DJ.
We have a question from someone who used to be on the Howard Stern show. You know Howard Stern?
Mm-hmm.
He says, are you still able to get an erection naturally?
I am getting an erection, but I have this little tiny dick. D. I have this little tiny thing, and so if I have $1,000, the girl says it's really big. If I don't have it, they say it's really small. I mean, does that make
You're
sense?
6'8". I don't
know,
believe
and
that.
I have size 14 shoes. Actually, it's fine. It's fine. Hey, I have some advice for you. For if you're a man, a boy, I want you to listen carefully, because it might save you 10 years of suffering. When I was 18, I was convinced that I was gay. And Freud had a name for it. He called it homophobic panic. And you think you're gay. You're afraid you're gay. You don't know how to know whether you're gay or not. You're afraid to go in the locker room because you might get an erection when you see another boy. It's real easy. When you fantasize, when you look at Pornhub, whenever you do what you do you look at girls or do you look at boys? If you look at girls, you're straight. If you look at boys, you're gay. It's that simple.
There you go.
So stop worrying about it and get on. That's what you are.
Are you Jewish?
Well, I'm a little bit, partially, mainly Scottish and Irish. But I love, how do you say it again?
Tikkun Olam,
Tikkun
repairing the
Olam.
world. It's Hebrew.
Repair the world. Like I said last night, I mean, getting to heaven is a selfish act. Immense Jews trying to fix the world. Bob Dylan and Jonas Salk and Sabin and Einstein, they tried to fix the world. That's a higher calling than getting yourself to heaven, I think. Go ahead.
If you're attracted to transsexuals, does that make you gay? Specifically, women that don't have a dick anymore, but they still have testosterone.
No, because
Are traps
if
gay?
they look like a woman and you're attracted to women, you'll be attracted to a transsexual who looks like a woman.
But if they have a penis still?
Well, can you see the penis?
Yes, it's a large penis.
Well, if you're attracted to the penis, you might be gay. If you're not attracted to the penis. But, I mean, human sexuality is, like on Mondays, I am straight. On Tuesdays, I'm gay. On Wednesdays, I'm transsexual. On Thursdays, I'm omnisexual. And on Fridays, I'm bisexual. And on the weekends, I like turtles.
Do you have a cutoff? Do you have a cutoff point of?
That's a joke.
Yeah, I get it. Do you have a cutoff point as far as having sex with girls of a certain age? Would you be okay with an 18-year-old if she was okay with you?
I don't. I got tired of going to the nursing home to pick up my dates. Let's say I get a contract. Everything is every relationship I enter into is mutually agreeable. Generally, when I enter into a relationship with a younger woman, it's a 6 months or about that, maybe a little bit longer. She is required to keep looking for Prince Charming. He cannot stop that. Anyway, and she's required to keep looking for Prince Charming so she can date others, but I don't. And I help them start their business because every girl I met has this dream of a business, and I'm pretty good at starting businesses. So that's kind of what I do. But I don't take just any business plan. It has to be a well thought out business plan. It has to look like it's going to succeed. I'm not going to invest in a business that's going to fail.
Top 10 movies and maybe do a few lines from them. That's what the requests and the questions.
Top 10 movies. All right, a line. Well,
Some
I can't
acting.
do 10, but a couple. There are famous lines from Casablanca, but one was when the young woman who the policeman was trying to seduce and then get her a pass so she could leave Casablanca, she asked Rick, well, what's he like? Does he keep his word? And what kind of man is he? And Rick replied, he's just like any other man, only more so. I love that one. And then in Patton, and I relate to this, the generals under George S. Patton, who was probably the best general in World War II, at least the Germans thought he was. The generals under him said, General Patton, we don't know when you're acting or not. And Patton replied, it's not important if you know. It's only important if I know. See, DJ can't keep off that.
No, I'm
me. It's just anyway. So those are a couple of quotes. There are others now. I'm going to try to stream at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for an hour, and I'm going to what I view this as an ancient person. I'm going to reach back and try to communicate with it's not millennials. Millennials are now 30, whatever they're called. But so it's not back in the day. It's not back in the hour. It's not back in the week. It's not back in the month. It's not back in the years. Not back in the decade. It's back in the half century when I was growing up. When I was your age, I didn't know anything.
I got it.
Why don't you take that box down?
Well, it's easy to move the camera around.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. I caught it. That was
You
good.
did catch it. Anyway, so I want you to ask me questions and not the stoner questions.
All right.
Meaningless questions.
Do you know how to work a computer? Are you good with computers?
I'm not. Well, DJ can answer that. Am I good with computers?
You're okay. For your age, I give you an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
What do you think about the mainstream media? What news services do you watch?
I like Bloomberg and Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera.
I like to get both sides. I mean, Bloomberg is the business side, you know, and the world runs on business. Like it or not, it does. And Al Jazeera is the opinions of a very good and courageous news organization. I mean, they'll go into any country and they'll out criminals, and it's amazing what they'll do. Those kids in Al Jazeera have a lot of cojones. I mean, they're like fearless. Now they're reporting from the Middle East is from their own perspective, but I want to know what their perspective is. If you can't understand your opponent, in many ways they are our opponent, then how can you deal with them?
Do you think it's possible there's intelligent life outside of this planet?
I think it's highly unlikely that there's not. I mean, if the universe is as big as it's said to be, that means there's millions and millions of worlds that have had time to evolve like we do, and whether they have carbon-based life is a question, probably not necessarily. So yes, I think it's highly unlikely that we'd be there. Now, say some highly advanced civilization flew by Earth and looked at us. What do we have that would interest them? Our political system, our medical system, our science? Nothing would interest them.
What about our resources, our DNA?
There's a million other resources, a million other planets that can get resources. We're not the only one that has titanium or gold or rare earth elements. They can get them anywhere. They would keep going. There's no reason to stop. We're primitive, right?
Do you think O.J. Simpson killed those people?
I do. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Is it his fault, though, if he had brain damage from the NFL that made him more violent than normal? Does that make him responsible still?
Well,
If he had...
I mean, if you go that far, then nobody's responsible for anything. I mean, he cut him up with a knife, right? So I think he's responsible for cutting up his ex-wife and her boyfriend with a knife, yeah.
All right. Do you know what channel Al Jazeera recently bought?
No.
I don't know that either. I kind of want to look that up.
Maybe it's Bloomberg.
Nah. Al Jazeera purchase.
Oh, DJ turned me on to vaping, so I have a pipe coming.
Do you want to hit
It's
this?
actually a vape pipe, but that allows me still to smoke without getting the tar. Of the nicotine in the tar, the nicotine is relatively safe. The tar is not safe. That's the black stuff that coats your lungs and causes skin cancer. Yes?
They said they bought Al Gore's TV channel. That's interesting. Al Jazeera.
Al Gore's the guy who invented the internet?
No, he didn't. He just said he did. The internet was invented at UCLA.
He's the guy who lied about the internet.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever go to an Elvis or a Beatles concert?
No, I went to a Bob Dylan concert on the Isle of Wight. That's the only concert I've ever been to in my life, and the only one.
One concert? Oh, wow.
I don't want to go to a concert. I don't like to socialize. I have autism. I like to stay in my room and think and write and read and et cetera. So.
Interesting. All right. Hold up. What are your hobbies besides live streaming now?
Well, live streaming, I like it. I really enjoyed last night. And today I spent some time decorating, changing the King Cat exposition in my daughter's studio. I called her studio because there's 3 paintings by her that I'm going to have prints done and sell them. And in a minute, DJ maybe can take some time and see, because we have King Cat, and we have Heaven above, and we have the slaves below, and I'll show you that in a minute. And each time I'll try to make some changes or something that's new. Now, DJ said I can never repeat myself. Well, if I can never repeat myself, then this is over.
No, I don't. No, you
Because
can
I will-
repeat yourself. It just.
I will repeat myself, but if you guys listen as well as DJ, I'm going to have to repeat myself about 50 times.
Right. What do you think of all the homeless people in LA?
I think 70% of them have autism.
All right. They say, well, I want to hear more about autism, specifically your autism. Is it a disease or an advantage?
It's a gift from God. If you're functional or highly functional, it's a gift from God. Think about it. When most people do 50 things, like DJ knows how to do 50 things. I know how to do one or two things. So who's going to do better at those one or two things? The guy who does them all the time, or the woman who does them all the time, or the guy or the person who does one out of, who does 50 things? By definition, it's going to be the autist who does better at the one thing they pick, whether it's shopping like Jeff Bezos, or whether it's faster, or whether it's like Steve Jobs, it's sleeker. But we do one thing or two things. We don't do a lot of things.
All right. Have you traveled the world? If so, what was your favorite place?
I've traveled some of the world. Never been to Africa or New Zealand, Australia, or the Antarctic or the Arctic. I've been to Europe. I've been to Iran. I've been to Japan. I've been to Mexico. Been to Canada. So I've traveled some of the world. And my favorite, I guess, is rural Italy or rural Spain. I speak a little Spanish, and when you go into a rural village, if you make some attempt to speak the native language, they love you forever, because it shows you're not an ugly American, and there are a lot of ugly Americans out there. My favorite traveling story is when you can tell Americans, because if they're speaking English to somebody who doesn't speak English, well, what do the Americans do to be understood?
Speak louder.
They yell. I mean, if you can't understand regular spoken English, you're not going to be able to understand yelled English. It's just stupid, and it's just an example of what's called the ugly Americans. We're self-possessed. We think we're the be-all and the end-all, and we're not.
Are you a fan of sports, specifically boxing? They're asking about boxing, if you watch it.
Well, back in the day, I remember I was maybe 15 or so when a guy named Cassius Clay took on Sonny Liston. I remember that fight really well. The look on Liston's face when he realized he was never going to touch this guy, and every time Liston hit out, Clay just followed in, and boom, 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 and he's back again. He was just so quick. It was just amazing. It was an amazing sports experience. So yes, I do like boxing, but I haven't seen any lately.
All right, here's a moral question. This train's running on the tracks. If you do nothing, the entire train will crash and kill everyone on board. They're all adults. If you pull the lever, you'll save the kid in the tracks. So do you pick 100 adult lives over one child's life? Would you pull the lever?
That's exactly the question I used to ask the nuns when I was in grade school. They didn't have an answer. You just have to do what you have to do. I don't know.
Do you listen to any podcasts or radio shows? Do you have a favorite?
What's a podcast?
An online radio show, like the Joe Rogan Experience. Like
Joe Rogan. I don't know these people.
No, we were talking about Elon Musk when he smoked pot on it was on a podcast. You're essentially making a podcast right now with video. This is yeah. So a podcast would be like this without video. A radio show.
A radio show that's video.
Well, this is a live stream. It includes video. If there was no video, it was just audio, it would be a podcast.
What about if it includes video? What's it called? A video?
A live stream.
No, but if it's not live, if you just
then it's just a video. I don't know. I don't think there's a specific word for that. A video podcast. Oh no, Joe Rogan died. He always dies and he gets reborn every day. People like to say he died all the time, but he never does. Anyway.
Well, okay.
Do you know what a pipe tamper is? This guy's asking why you don't have a tamper for your pipe. Something to...
I have a tamper.
Oh, he has it. You just don't like using it?
I have two tampers. Here's one tamper.
No, never. Okay, he does have one.
And here is another tamper. So yes, I have tampers.
All right. Are your nipples pierced?
Oh, I hope not.
Have you ever had sex with a black woman?
I don't kiss and tell.
Okay, no sex questions. All right.
You can ask the sex questions. I'm just not going to answer.
Fair. Do you like Hunter S. Thompson? You remind him a lot of him.
Yes, I like Hunter S. Thompson. I like how he talks to the younger generation and tries to learn from them. I have never met a person in my life who's not my teacher. They teach me things so that neither I nor them think they're going to. So everyone is my teacher.
All right. What do you think about Michael Jackson and all the new allegations against him?
Are the new allegations like the old allegations?
Yes, the same kid saying he fucked them and molested
Well, I
them.
think the new allegations are like the old allegations. I think they're probably true. But I don't know because, when you have opinions about things, like you go around and say, that's true, you don't know whether it's true or not. You weren't there. So don't have opinions. Try not to have opinions. And remember to never again be wrong. Never again have an opinion. If you never have an opinion, you will never be wrong again in your life about anything. That's amazing.
Have you seen the Back to the Future movies? You remind everyone a lot of Christopher Lloyd. That's what they keep saying.
Who's Christopher Lloyd?
The professor in Back to the Future.
The professor.
Da, 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 da.
Thank you, he was knowledgeable. Am I that scatterbrained? I try not to be scatterbrained. Maybe I am.
That's funny. What animal do you find the most attractive?
Peregrine falcons. They reach about 160 miles an hour in their dive. They're the fastest animal on Earth. And they're pure. They have no mercy. They have no mercy at all. When they dive on the pigeon and there's that fluff of feathers and they're pumping after that with a pigeon in their clutch, they're eating that pigeon's face at the same time while they're killing the pigeon. They have no mercy. I love peregrine falcons because they're pure. I have mercy. I try to have mercy, but I love purity.
What type of dark magic do you sell? Are you into magic or the occult?
I'm not into either that I know
Alright.
about. Magic means that it makes no sense, but it happens anyway, right? I think everything that happens for a reason.
What was your life during the 70s with like Pink Floyd and people were taking acid, the hippie movement? Were you involved with that at all?
I was studying 18 hours a day in the 70s. I was in medical school I was in undergraduate school from 68 to 72, and I was in medical school from 72 to 76. I did a surgical internship from 76 to 77. Then I was an ER doc, learning to be a doctor. I thought I was a big shot when I was an ER doc. I wasn't a big shot. I was just another ER doc. But no, I didn't. I vaguely remember Pinpoint. Isn't that when Eric Clapton played with Cream? Or was that the 60s?
I'm not sure
I
offhand.
think that was the 60s. Anyway.
What do you think about Scientology and their anti-psychiatry stance? They don't believe in psychiatric meds.
Well, as I said a minute ago, if you have a psychiatric diagnosis, question it. Because the psychiatrists can't prove they're right, and they don't make any attempt to admit that they could possibly be wrong. So I'm not a fan although I'm a psychiatrist, I'm not a fan of psychiatry.
What's the most fascinating person you've ever met?
The most interesting person I've ever met is me.
Okay, but have you ever met any historical or political figures, like any personal
I met
experience?
Bill Clinton once.
Oh, okay.
Bill Clinton was amazing in that his interpersonal charm was phenomenal. I had been trying to reform public schools, and Arkansas's public schools were just terribly corrupt, and Clinton was certainly responsible for that. And attacked him, and his bodyguard came up, and within a few sentences, I didn't physically attack him, verbally attack him, and within a few sentences, I was apologizing to him. I mean, he had this ability to project empathy, like you were important to him. I mean, I knew I wasn't, but it was an amazing experience. Ronald Reagan had that. Certainly Barack Obama had that. Most presidents have that ability. Nixon didn't. Carter did. Kennedy did. One of my favorite news conferences was there was a reporter, Helen Thomas, for the Associated Press, and she was loaded for bear always. She was fair. She was quite liberal, but she was she knew both sides of things. And there was a new president. She waved her hands and, Mr. President, Mr. President, what are you doing for women in your administration? And the new president looked at her and without hesitating said, Miss Thomas, I have no idea, but whatever it is, it's not enough. And they were friends for life. Now that's the president. I wish Donald Trump could talk like that, because people think he's president, can't be president unless you speak English. He doesn't speak English, therefore he's not the president, right?
All right.
He's a Bronx businessman taking care of America's business.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. All right. Do you have any phobias? Irrational ones,
Yeah.
or rational?
I have a phobia of nuclear war. I have a phobia of the bubonic plague. I have a phobia of being in hell for eternity with Nancy Pelosi on one side and Sean Hannity on the other side arguing. Whenever my God wants me to straighten up and fly right, she tells me that's what's waiting for me in hell, and I do whatever the hell she tells me to do. I mean, enough said. I don't like to be nasty to people, so I won't.
What do you think about social justice warriors? We talked about them all.
Well, I think many of them are disturbed. I think many of them are. Everybody knows what misogyny is, right? Misogyny is a deep-seated pathological hatred of women. And men being what we are, we're killers and competitors and pillagers and that kind of thing. And so when a misogynist exists, a male, they often will kill the woman. Now, what's the counterpart of misogyny? The counterpart of misogyny is called misandrony. That's a deep-seated pathological hatred of men. And because women don't kill, they have to exact their vengeance in another way. And I don't know anything about social justice warriors other than what DJ has told me, but I do know that that when I testify around the country in certain types of child abuse cases, I meet women with deep-seated hatred of men who are trying to get a man put in jail for something they didn't do, like a particular form of child abuse that is in fact vitamin D deficient rickets, a metabolic bone disease.
Is there anything in life you wish you had done that it's too late for now?
Yes. The DJ won't let me, but I'd like to play some music while we talk, softly in the background. But he says no, I can't do that
We want to keep the video on YouTube.
because of copyright problems. But there's a song by Eric Clapton. I don't even know if he's the first one who did this song, but it's called "Wonderful Tonight," and I cry whenever I listen to it. And I've listened to it 7,312 times since my birthday in June. And why do I cry? And I read these reviews, and other people saying, why do I cry when I listen to this song? Why do I cry? And this man, he doesn't say that his woman is gorgeous or a number 10 or anything. He says she's wonderful, and he says he feels wonderful when he's around her. And I keep thinking, I had lots of opportunities to say that in my life to people, women I cared about, and I didn't. And I regret that, because every woman can be wonderful. Every woman can be wonderful. There's a man who will make her feel wonderful. All the men have to do is appreciate that she's wonderful and tell her she's wonderful. Don't say she's a number 10 beauty. She knows she's not, right?
Whoa, did you know Eric
all women can be wonderful.
Apparently Eric Clapton wrote it for a woman named Patty Boyd. Do you know who that is?
I don't know.
Apparently his young child fell out of his window to his death. That's
Eric Clapton's son fell out of the window
Yes.
to his death, and he wrote a song about that.
All right. Why did you wind up in the psych ward? What did you do to wind up there?
I broke a window on a Verizon store with a trash can. And given the circumstances, I'd do it again.
What is
I had trouble lifting up the trash can because I'm 70 years old, but I got it above my head. And
What is the biggest change in the world that you've noticed since you were a kid to now?
Oh, by far the internet. I mean, we used to have to go to the library and look something up in some sort of reference book. It took hours and hours. If you were good at it, it took hours and hours. Now they just Google it and it's right, the answer's right there. Not always right, but if you're sophisticated with how you Google, you get it right 99% of the time. That's by far the most revolutionary thing that's happened because Al Gore invented the internet.
Do you have any more stories of like the worst patients you've ever dealt with? I know
Not
you
the
told
worst
that
patients,
one last
but
night.
I remember in
most
Wyoming.
interesting. Yeah.
I remember in Wyoming one time, I was all said I'd studied all about snake bites and rattlesnake bites, and this cowboy came in and he had 2 fang marks on his leg, and I got the antivenom out, and I was going to call a code and a CPR, and he said, I want a tetanus shot, and I want to get the hell out of here. I got work to do. I said, you've been bitten by a rattlesnake, and he said, I've been bitten by a rattlesnake 5 or 6 times in my life, son, and I don't need any of this crap. I want to get back to work. Give me a tetanus shot. So I gave him a tetanus shot, and he walked out of there. Now, that's a cowboy. So,
What's the worst part about getting old?
I guess the worst part about getting old are the regrets that I have of what I didn't do when I was young. And those are simple things. Like I've already spoke about one, not telling a wonderful woman that I feel wonderful around her. I regret that. So that's the worst part. And when you're young, you don't really have any regrets because you're, as Julius Caesar in Shakespeare, Cleopatra was asking Mark Antony was asking Cleopatra, he said, how come you had that relationship with Caesar? You shouldn't have done that, because you and I are lovers. And Cleopatra replied, I was in my salad days. My salad days. Young and inexperienced, and you could do whatever you want, because we all have our salad days. And when I was in my salad days, I could have done a lot of things different, and I made human contact that I didn't make. So I regret that. And that's the worst part of getting old for me.
Do you believe that the large jump in technology we've seen in our life was due to intervention from extraterrestrials and or lizard people?
I have no idea.
The questions are going to get weirder. Do you know who Alex Jones is?
I do not.
He's a very big conspiracy theorist.
The problem with conspiracy theorists is get a circle of about 2, 3, 4, or 5 people and whisper something or tell them a secret. Within a couple of days, you'll hear that secret from another person. Humans cannot keep secrets. Conspiracy theorists miss the point of humans can't keep secrets, and to have a widespread conspiracy, you have to have widespread secrets, and it's impossible for humans to have secrets. I mean, if you have a juicy secret, are you going to keep it to yourself? You're going to tell somebody. That's why conspiracies they don't work.
They're asking if you've ever smoked weed before. Why do you have such a strong opinion on it?
I have a strong opinion because I've seen, in my practice of medicine, I've seen hundreds and hundreds, thousands perhaps, of kids who are losers, usually young men, who do nothing but play video games and smoke THC. And THC and the brain are not compatible. I mean, I remember, yes, I used to smoke some. I didn't smoke too often, a couple of years, but I would write something because I like poetry. I'd write something and I thought it was great when I was high, and I look at it the next morning, it was tripe. It was worthless. You couldn't even understand it. So the creative process and THC is incompatible, except maybe for music, and I'm not musically oriented, but I understand a lot of musicians smoke and they can play music, so that would be an exception. But I mainly object to it because it destroys young people's lives. Young men's life, they become losers, and they live a loser's life playing video games and smoking weed and saying stupid things on live TV.
Oh my God. Do you believe in mind control? And the U.S. government has the ability to control someone's mind with drugs and or brainwashing?
No, I mean the human brain is incredibly free, and it's just no, I don't.
How much did the painting above you cost?
$170.
Yeah, the real one's a little smaller too. Okay.
Nothing in this apartment, other than this Rolex watch, is expensive.
If
I did
THC is sorry.
I did this whole apartment. I mean, I'm going to show you. DJ's going to show this wall, but this wall is my most extensive wall with my daughter's painting King Cat, and the whole thing cost me less than $1,000, and that's one of the main walls in my apartment. I mean, it's not a big apartment. I mean, the African room probably cost me less than $1,000, and the Japanese room will be the same. So this wall here, and the Mona Lisa with the two small statues and the couch. You know, again, it's not much. If you think about things and you shop at Costco and Amazon, you can get amazing things, and you can do. I mean, I like to live in a place where I relate to it, and I relate to this apartment.
What are some of your favorite artists?
Well, I like poetry, so I like the King James version of the Bible. I like a wide assortment of poets. I like to quote some poets. I used to, when I was in the first year of undergraduate university, I went to University of South Florida, and I met this teacher who seemed to pick on me, and he said, Cannell, you're going to memorize 100 quotes every month, and nobody else has to, but only you. And that's not fair, but I did it anyway. And many of those quotes stuck with me. Something happens when you memorize something. When you memorize it, you don't just understand it, you incorporate it into your being. For example, Abraham Lincoln disliked Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, and this is what he said about Davis. He said, Davis is reptilian. His character is forged in the base metal of hypocrisy. Now, you can't diss somebody better than that. I mean, forged in the base metal of hypocrisy. I mean, I like quotes like that because you really, I can improve upon them, and if you know them, you can use them when it seems appropriate, and they're very powerful. Yes.
What did your parents do for work, but don't say their names or be too specific, remember?
My mother was a
In
school
general.
teacher from Montana, and my father was a poet. He came from a moneyed Virginia family. He was in boarding school in Switzerland, was an assassin in Paris in World War I. It destroyed him, and he didn't write poetry again for 20 years. And sad thing about my father is he had a patch on his eye, and I was only 5, and I didn't think anything of it until I saw some movie like Peter Pan, and I saw that pirates had patches. I became convinced my father was a pirate, and so I ran away from him for years, and I wouldn't play ball with him, I wouldn't sit next to him, I wouldn't do anything with him. And then you know what happened? He died. He died not knowing why his 4th-born son ran away from him. So, I'll have to ask his forgiveness when I see him again, if I ever do. No, I want to be taught that. Tell me, you guys. I mean, you younger people. You 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds. What do you think? What do you feel? What's going to happen? What's your life? What do you want? I mean, what do you hope for? See what I mean? Come on.
Views on our president. Views on Trump.
Like I said, he's a Bronx businessman taking care of business. He's not the president. Can't be the president unless you're speaking.
All right. Why do we have receptors in our brains for THC and CBD if it is not compatible with the human
You have
brain?
receptors in your brain for everything.
It's a simple answer.
All truth is simple, but all that's simple is not truth.
How old were you when you lost your virginity? You don't have to answer.
Well, true story that I was 16 and I had never kissed a girl. So I met this young man and he took me to a party at DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. And there were a lot of girls there. They were kind of a little bit chunky, but they were girls as far as I could tell. And I walked in and I was kissed by a bunch of them immediately. I didn't know that tongues were supposed to do that when you kiss. Because pretty soon I had like 12 tongues in my mouth. And this guy who took me to the party came out and said, "John, you know that's not a girl. Those are all boys." And I said to him, because I had this competitive relationship, I said, "I know that." And then I threw up and ran out of the apartment and made a secret pact to never tell a soul about that as long as I live. I mean, my thinking after that was I must be gay. If the first girl you ever kissed was actually a boy, you must be gay. I lived that for 10 years. That's why just pay attention to your sexual fantasies. If you fantasize about women, you're not gay. That's it.
Well, they said that was just the first kiss, not losing your actual virginity.
Oh, no, I was a general's daughter, Lucy, when I was like 19.
There you go. All right.
And then maybe the love of my life. I had a Volkswagen van with flowered curtains and a bed in the back of it. And Linda and I traveled all around Mexico and the United States and Canada. And we would drive and we would find some place along the side of the road and we'd just sleep, or even in a city. And we'd stop and eat and we'd get a hotel every 3 or 4 days, maybe shower, swim, that kind of thing, Nova Scotia. And that was... in terms of the relationship with a woman, the sexual relationship with a woman, that was probably a high point of my life.
Interesting. All right. Grim Reaper 69. I'm 21. I have no idea what to do with my life. Do you have any advice?
Yes. Find out what you love. Find out what you did when you were 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. What you did when you didn't have anything else to do, and do it.
Interesting. Opinions on Nikola Tesla? You know who that is? Nikolai Tesla, the company, the guy, the mad inventor who came up with a lot of our modern electricity.
Oh, the electrician.
Well, yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, he was a genius. Yeah. I don't know a lot about him, but.
Interesting.
Could I have your vape for a second?
Yeah, go for it. He just discovered this stuff. He loves it. What was your first car?
A Volkswagen van with flower curtains.
Sounds like you were a hippie.
I had hair down to my shoulders. I dressed in a flowing linen robe, and I had sandals that laced up to my knees. I looked like Jesus Christ. And I must have thought I was. I don't know, but yeah, I was a hippie.
Did you participate in the free love movement?
My experience is that love is seldom free.
I'm just saying though, everyone was apparently banging no condoms, and it was the the birth control pill. It was a revolution.
I mean, sex can be free, but love is seldom free in my experience.
All right, where do you hide your murder weapons? Thought that was a funny question.
I left my murder weapons in the '60s, and I don't like talking about it.
All right, fair enough. Do you think climate change is real?
Yes, I do.
It's a simple
But
one.
the rate of climate change that I think the Aeronautical and Space Administration has something like 60,000 buoys in the oceans around the world, taking temperatures. And the temperature of the oceans have increased about half a degree in 50 years. The global warming that we're experiencing is one of thousands that the Earth has experienced. Whether or not humans are in any way responsible is an open question.
Can I smoke one of the pipes?
Sure.
All right. This one?
Sure, and we're going to stop right at 9 here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's after 9.
I know, the time flies.
Now, one of these days, I'm going to give a tour of my bedroom, which is very personal, but I only want interested people to watch, people who can ask intelligent questions about what's going on. Because one of my research interests is what's called the dominant submissive sexual dynamic among men and women. And I think it's prevalent. I think it's exists in 90% of humans. And there's DJ. And I want to talk seriously about that because I think it explains a lot about humans. Consider the possibility that the vast majority of people have sexual fantasies that they're ashamed of, and they won't tell anybody. But what they don't know is the person sitting next to them has similar fantasies. Wouldn't that be a tragedy? Anyway.
There's one last question I thought was interesting. He says, let me read it exactly. This is a guy who used to be on Howard Stern, man. He's famous. If people who smoke marijuana are losers, how does he account for Einstein enhancing his mind with hallucinogens and opium? And Einstein did admit to that.
Einstein did that.
He did. It wasn't just tobacco in that pipe.
I know that Freud wrote most of his stuff on a 7% solution of cocaine. I didn't know about Einstein. I don't know if that's true. I would think that I would have known that if it was true. You cannot think of the special theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, if your brain is polluted and poisoned with THC. It's just not possible. You'll come up with some tripe, but you won't come up with
Paulina just arrived.
Hey,
That's her
Paulina.
right. That's her. Look, that's a little picture of her.
Paulina, thank you for the $20.
Yeah, our first and biggest donor.
I'd like to say one thing in closing is that the organizational meeting for the Los Angeles homeless militia will occur on April 20th in Marina del Rey, and we need to rent a building to muster in and to do some other things, and so we need money. DJ and I need money to do this because I've always had some money, but I've always spent it more than I've had. So I'm in debt right now. But I mean, I live in Los Angeles. There are 50,000 men in Los Angeles who make over $5 million a year. If you can't sell them something, you can't sell anything.
All right. One thing I want to.
So good night.
I want to tease them with one little thing. All right. So.
We'll show King Cat tomorrow night.
So we have a PS4 Pro. We got the headphones that go with the PSVR, and he's going to do virtual reality for the first time when the damn thing arrives. It's supposed to come today, but it'll come tomorrow.
I have to lock it up in my safe from PJ because instead of working on what we do, he is playing video games.
It's a career.
He's such a child.
All right. When will the next stream be?
8 o'clock every night.
Also, would you like to do IRL? They want to see you on the street talking to people, not just in tier alone.
DJ's going to take the camera and flash it back to me. I'll watch it on the TV and I'll answer questions on the street.
All right.
Maybe I'll go on the street myself. I'm not sure. We'll see. I don't like to socialize.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a career where autistic people go outside on camera and they're forced to socialize, and sometimes they even like it a little.
DJ showed some videos of some streamers.
Ice Poseidon.
Ice Poseidon.
That's the guy who made me famous.
Autistic. And,
yeah.
He went outside. So
his first sexual experience with a tranny, just like you. It's a very similar story.
Diarrhea of the mouth.
Well, he's 23 and he makes $700,000 a year, and everyone's stealing his money. So, all right, that's it.
Good night.
Good night.